Okay, welcome back to episode 8 of Paddle of the Week. This week we're taking a closer look at 6 paddles, plus one new product that isn't a paddle, but definitely deserves a spot in the mix. Instead of rushing through a long list, we're going deeper. I've been testing everything across competitive games, drills, and league play to get a real sense of how each one performs. If you're new here, here's how this works. Every week I test a mix of new releases, older models, paddles I wanted to revisit, and ones you asked me about. I'm looking for patterns, what holds up, surprises me, and stands out. If one paddle clearly rises to the top, old or new, it earns the title. If nothing stands out, I'll say that too. This isn't a tier list, it's not a hype reel, it's just real analysis and an honest take. If you've been enjoying the series or find it useful, hit that subscribe and like button. It helps more than you think. And if there's a paddle you want featured in a future episode, drop it in the comments. If I have it, I'll pull it in, and if I don't, I'll let you know. Before we dive into the paddles, a few quick things. First, if you're trying to find the right paddle or have a friend struggling to choose, check out the paddle finder at matspickleball.com. It's free, no emails required, and it actually works. You answer a few quick questions about how you play, what you value, your budget, and some others, and it recommends paddles I've personally tested. You can filter by swing weight, shape, spin, and other real data that actually matters to you. If the results don't quite nail it or you want a second opinion, just shoot me an email or DM me on Instagram or join my Discord. I'm happy to help. Seriously, I love to talk about this stuff. All the links are in the description. While you're on the site, you can also sign up for my newsletter. No spam, no fluff, just early paddle drops, test updates, and insights I don't always share publicly. Speaking of Instagram, if you want to follow along with the behind-the-scenes stuff like early impressions, mini breakdowns, and paddle thoughts that don't always make it to YouTube, you'll find me there at Matt's Pickleball. That's where a lot of the quick takes land first. Also, big thanks to this episode's sponsor, BOA Pickleball. If you haven't tried their overgrips yet, they're seriously good. They have a comfortable feel and plenty of color options, and they hold up well after weeks of play. They also carry tungsten tape, speed caps, hats, towels, and other well-made accessories. Basically everything you need to customize your paddle your way. Check them out at boatipickleball.com, and if you use my code MPB at checkout, you'll save 15% and help support this channel. All right, now let's talk pickleball gear. And first up, not a paddle, the Head Motion Pro BOA Pickleball Shoes. This is Head's first true pickleball specific shoe, and it shows. Everything about it, from the outsole pattern to the lateral stability system, was, according to Head, built with pickleball in mind, not just borrowed from tennis. The headline feature is the BOA Dual Li2 or Li2 fit system. Instead of laces, you get 2 dials that let you micro-adjust the tension across the upper and midfoot. Press to engage, twist to tighten, and pull to release. You can dial each zone independently for a secure, even fit that stays locked in. It's fast, precise, and when you use it, it's tough to go back to traditional laces. And I was skeptical at first, but my snowboarding boots have BOA laces on them as well, and they're solid. Functionally, that system changes how the shoe hugs your foot. As you tighten the dials, integrated wrap panels pull in from the sides, creating a true glove-like fit. Your foot feels centered and secure, especially during hard lateral movements and recovery steps. The rest of the construction is dialed in too. You get a full sock-like upper with breathable mesh, internal heel support, and a cooling system built into the midfoot. The Dynafoam midsole is lightweight and cushioned and holds its responsiveness well, even after extended play. It feels stable underfoot, but still quick thanks to the TPU shank and a low to the ground ride. The shoe is designed to keep your foot cool. However, if I'm honest, I think they run a little warm, which could be due to their heavier material composition. I'm hoping Foot Dr. Zach will run his smoke test on these shoes to really get a measure of breathability. The outsole is purpose-built for pickleball. It has a full wrap tread for grip on lateral pushes, a reinforced rubber toe cap if you drag your toes, and a traction pattern designed for multi-directional movement. Their lateral control plus tech keeps the shoe stable during aggressive side-to-side movements. Comfort-wise, it's a 7 out of 10 in my book. The Ortholite insole adds plushness without feeling soft or unstable. The shoe seems to breathe well, and once you've got the BOA fit dialed in, you barely think about it. It just works. Sizing runs a bit longer. For example, I wear an 11 in head revolts, and these 10.5s fit perfectly. Thankfully, the dual dial BOA system gives you plenty of room to fine-tune. At $199, this is a premium shoe, no question. But the tech and performance are there, and only time will tell how well they hold up. If you're looking for a modern performance-driven shoe made specifically for pickleball, this one should be on your list. If you want to check them out, use my code MPB to save at checkout. Next up is the Gearbox GX2 Integra XL. This paddle had me thinking a lot this week. Not because it underperformed, but because the experience of switching to it, especially after playing it alongside the Chorus Supercourt EX, was so different. The Supercourt has a crisp, loud, and firm feel. You feel every shot, and you hear every shot. Then you pick up the GX2, and it's dead quiet. You drive the ball, and it moves, but there's almost no sensation. Punch a volley, still nothing. It's like the paddle was built with a silencer. And from an engineering perspective, I find that fascinating. For some players, that level of quiet is a clear advantage. And to be fair, this might be the best quiet paddle on the market right now. But for me, the lack of audible and tactile feedback made it harder to settle in this week. The paddle performs, but coming from something as expressive as the Supercourt, the contrast was sharp enough that I never fully adjusted this week. Performance-wise, the Integra XL plays with what I'd now call a somewhat non-linear power profile, especially with added weight. I've been testing it with some extra mass, and what I'm noticing is that the energy transfer doesn't scale evenly across shot types. On certain drives, the ball jumps with explosive force. On others, such as resets and roll drops, you'll get a delayed response. It's not erratic, but it doesn't follow a smooth linear curve either. I used to think this paddle was linear on touch shots and non-linear on drives, but now I'm seeing that variability on both sides of the spectrum. That could be the added weight changing how the energy loads and transfers. Now, in terms of build quality, the Gearbox continues to impress. I think Chris Olsen described this as built like a tank, and it absolutely is. The SST 2.0 carbon fiber rib core replaces traditional honeycomb with a full carbon chassis. It's stable, durable, and noticeably muted. There's no vibration, no rattle, and no degradation over time like you get from some polymer core paddles. That part is rock solid, and time will tell if that holds up. However, that same construction is what gives the GX2 its defining characteristic. It's not just quiet in sound, it's quiet in feel. There's minimal feedback, and while that's a plus for players who want a smooth, vibration-free experience, it can be a challenge if you rely on that feedback to time shots or make adjustments mid-rally. Power is absolutely there, especially when you add weight. You can hit with pace, but you need to commit to a full stroke to unlock it. Touch shots took me longer to dial in. I either sent the ball long or left it short until I adjusted. It's not hard to control, but it does require some recalibration. Spin is solid. The surface has enough texture and dwell to shape shots, but you're not maxing out spin numbers here. It's dependable, not flashy. The Integra XL really stands out in terms of stability. This thing doesn't budge in hand battles. It holds its ground, absorbs pace, and lets you redirect without getting pushed around. That muted feel, paired with the added weight, gives it a planted, confident presence on the court. It's easily one of the most stable paddles I've played this year. The bottom line is that the Gearbox GX2 Integra XL is a quiet assassin. If you're a player who wants a low vibration, high stability paddle that rewards full swings and clean technique, this one delivers. But if you rely on feedback, either sound or feel, to stay dialed in, just know there's a learning curve here. The retail price is $269, but you can use my code MPB to save 10%, bringing it down to $243. If you've already spent time with this paddle, let me know what you think about it in the comments. All right, next up is the Gearbox Pro Power Integra 8.0. I've been spending time with this one over the last week, and while the name clearly positions it as a power paddle, the on-court feel is more refined than the label might suggest. This is a paddle with a clear identity, and once you get a few sessions under your belt, it starts to make a lot more sense. From the outside, it's unmistakably Gearbox. Clean design, a rock-solid unibody build, edgeless frame, and their SST 2.0 carbon rib core. It's built to last, and it feels like it. But the way the Integra 8.0 delivers its power is what sets it apart. Out of the box, it plays dense but not stiff. There's weight behind your drives, but it doesn't come across as overly poppy or uncontrollable. You'll feel the mass, but you have to bring your own acceleration to get the full value from it. The power comes from a smooth, springy release off the sweet spot, not a sharp recoil. It's measured. You can swing out and get depth, but it builds gradually, not explosively. That's why the Integra 8.0 feels less chaotic than some of the louder thermal builds on the market, but still hits hard when you want it to. The sweet spot is solid, not massive, but larger and more forgiving than what I've experienced with the earlier Pro Power elongated model. You get some extended reach from this frame, but off-center hits still drop off fairly quickly, especially near the edges. With a twist weight of 5.2, stability is decent, but not elite. You'll feel mishits, and they'll cost you some consistency if you're not dialed in. Swing weight clocks in at 116.6, which is on the slightly elevated end. You'll feel that mass, especially in hand paddles or when trying to reload quickly. But on drives and full strokes, the swing weight gives you plow through and depth. The spin came in at 2,166 RPM, which is strong. Not at the top of the leaderboard, but more than enough to shape shots with confidence. The paddle uses a peel-ply carbon face that gives consistent grip across both wings. Whether you're driving from the baseline or flicking at the kitchen, the surface interacts well with the ball without feeling overly sticky or artificial. And given Gearbox's material choices, high-grade carbon and their layering method, long-term spin durability has historically been one of their strengths. That trend looks like it will continue here. The area that surprised me the most was resets and drops. This isn't a soft paddle by any stretch, but once I got used to the timing, resets felt clean. The ball stays on the face just long enough to give you control, and I didn't find myself needing to baby the ball or overcorrect. Dinks stayed low, punch volleys had solid pop, and that muted feel gave me the feedback I needed without excess vibration or harshness on mishits. Now, this isn't a grab-and-go paddle. It takes a few sessions to really dial in your touch and understand how the face responds. If you're used to thinner core or lighter swing weights, there's an adjustment period, but once you're locked in, the Integra 8.0 delivers a well-balanced mix of pressure and precision. There's also room to tinker. If you're looking to boost forgiveness or bring the balance point down, adding weight above the neck can help widen the sweet spot without throwing off the swing weight too much. That's something I'd recommend for players who want a little more margin on defense. The bottom line is that the Gearbox Pro Power Integra 8.0 is a controlled bruiser. It's built for players who want clean power, dependable feedback, and an excellent build. It's not trying to be the loudest paddle on the court, it's literally not loud. It's trying to be the most deliberate, and in that lane, it delivers. The retail price is $274, and if you use the link in the description, you won't get a discount, but you'll get a gift from Gearbox, and you'll help support this channel. And if you've been testing this one for yourself, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think and how it's playing for you. Next up is the Chorus Supercourt. This one caught my attention because it doesn't feel like a copycat or filler release. It's a paddle that knows exactly what it's trying to be. An elongated all-court tool with just enough pop to punch above its price point. It's also the first paddle from Chorus that made me think this could actually replace some of the current all-court favorites on the market. Let's start with what it is. The Supercourt EX is part of Chorus Pickleball's X Series lineup. All three paddles in this series share the same construction. Thermoformed unibody, edge foam for added forgiveness, and a 3-layer face composed of soft carbon fiber on the outer layer, fiberglass in the middle, and another carbon fiber layer underneath. That setup gives you a connected, stable feel on resets and dinks, but when you accelerate, the fiberglass kicks in and delivers that clean, crisp pop. The EX is the elongated model. It measures 16.5 inches long and 7.5 inches wide, with a 5.5-inch handle and a grip circumference of 4.25 inches. That shape gives you the reach and leverage you want from the baseline while still being quick enough to handle hand battles at the kitchen. Now let's talk numbers. Serve speed on the EX came in at 55.8 miles per hour, which lands in the 54th percentile. Right in the middle of the pack. Punch volley speed hit 37.3 miles per hour, which puts it in the 84th percentile, and spin measured 2,327 RPMs, an impressive 89th percentile. That spin number especially stood out. For a paddle under $120, it's rare to see that kind of spin potential combined with this level of pop. The swing weight is 116.6 and the twist weight landed at 6.5. Balance point came in at 24.2 centimeters and the static weight was 7.82 ounces. So what does that actually mean? It means you're getting an elongated paddle that plays fast for its shape, generates elite spin, and holds up surprisingly well on off-center hits. Considering the lower twist weight though, weight at the 4 and 8 o'clock positions improves that significantly. It's also one of the few paddles in this category that doesn't feel sluggish in transition. On the court, the Supercourt EX felt most at home during baseline drives and transition battles. The sweet spot is solid, nothing revolutionary, but it's consistent. The face gives you time to shape the ball, especially on topspin drives. You can feel the paddle hold the ball just long enough to get that bite, but it still clears with plenty of pace. Drop and rolls felt clean. The feedback is crisp, not plush, but not harsh either. It has a slightly firm feel, but nothing that wears out the arm. I didn't notice any uncomfortable vibrations or dead spots during testing. At the kitchen, the EX handled better than I expected for an elongated shape. The combination of soft carbon and balanced weight made dinks feel consistent and easy to place. Speed-ups and counters were easy to time thanks to the pop. It doesn't have the oversized forgiveness of something like the Shapeshifter X series, but it also doesn't get in its own way. If you're clean with your contact, this paddle responds exactly how you want it to. Compared to other paddles in this category, the EX stacks up well. It sounds like a Bantam from PaddleTech, but it's way more forgiving, and anecdotally, I would say the pop is similar to the 14.3mm. So who's it for? If you want hand speed, spin, and a connected touch with just enough power to finish a point, the Supercourt delivers. The Supercourt EX is $119 or $108 with my code NPB, which makes it one of the best values today. You're getting performance and construction, often in the $170 to $200 range. It's a steal, plain and simple. So the bottom line is that Chorus has created something special here. The Supercourt EX is fast, firm, crisp, precise, and powerful enough to hang in any scenario. And if you don't like the elongated shape, check out their hybrid and standard shape. Next up is the Joola Scorpeus Pro 4 16mm. And after another week with this paddle, my perspective is shifting a bit. When I first tested it, the shape felt like an adjustment, especially coming off the Perseus, but now that I've logged more hours, I'm starting to get why this form factor matters. The extra width and slightly shorter frame have really started to show their value, especially when I'm under pressure at the kitchen or trying to get the paddle into position quickly. What stands out more now is the sense of space. You just have more surface to work with. That added width isn't just theoretical, it helps in hands battles in transition and when you're trying to get a paddle on a ball that's stretching you laterally. The more I've played it, the more I've noticed myself making fewer last-second flips and more controlled blocks. That's a credit to the shape and how stable the paddle is across the face. The swing weight on this one is 114.95, the static weight is 8.24, and the twist weight is 7.4. And while those numbers skew a little higher than typical for a standard shape paddle, this one doesn't feel sluggish. In fact, it's one of the more balanced paddles I've played recently. That higher twist weight gives you noticeable stability, and once I got used to it, I found myself trusting it more and more on fast exchanges and hard blocks. Power-wise, this paddle sits right in the middle. Serve speed measured 55.4 miles per hour, and punch volleys clocked in at 37.1 miles per hour. So it's playable, but you're not getting effortless depth or power. That said, it feels predictable. You don't get inconsistent rebounds or unexpected launches. What you put on it is what you get out, and once you start swinging freely, it gives you plenty to work with without sending balls long or sailing high. Spin has remained consistent over a lot of sessions this week. I haven't retested RPMs this week either, but the surface is still gripping the ball well. The carbon face with its raw texture lets you work the ball without having to over-exaggerate mechanics. Roll shots, flicks, slices, they're all there. So how's it feel? Well, it's still Joola's Gen 3 signature, firm, connected, and just slightly dense in a plush way. It's not soft and it's not stiff. There's enough feedback to stay in control, but not so much that you're second-guessing contact. And unlike some other builds, the 16mm Scorpeus doesn't feel overly jumpy or unpredictable. It just plays grounded. As for weaknesses, nothing major has come up that I didn't expect. It's not pure power, but it has good above-average firepower at a 77 rating. If you're coming from something more explosive like the Mod TA15 or Rhombus Ripple, this will feel a little tamer. But if you want something fast, balanced, and stable enough to hold up under pressure, that's where this 16mm starts to separate itself. The price is $279. Yup, premium tier category. The same as the rest of Joola's Pro 4 lineup. If you're interested, use the link in the description to buy it. If you're watching this 60 days from now, use my code MPB to save you a few bucks when you check out. If you've been putting time into this paddle, I'd love to hear how it's playing for you. The bottom line is that the Scorpeus Pro 4 16mm has started to earn a real spot in my rotation. It doesn't hit you with a flash, but it's quick, reliable, and once you settle into the shape, it just works. Next up is Selkirk Labs Project 008 10mm. This is Selkirk's entry into the full foam paddle category, and it's easily one of the more interesting experiments I've tested so far. It plays way lighter than its numbers suggest. It's quick, and it's built around a solid EVA foam core. No honeycomb, no cutout, no traditional cell structure or anything like that. Just one solid slab of foam from edge to edge. Before we get into the performance, we've got to talk about the unboxing. This paddle arrives in a bright red zippered sleeve that looks more like it's protecting a diamond bracelet than a piece of sports gear. You get a personalized card, a red velvet mini pouch, and a strip of customization tape. If Apple made paddles, this is what the packaging would feel like. Now let's talk about the numbers. My Project 008 came in at 8.06 ounces with a swing weight of 112.65 and a twist weight of 5.4. The swing weight makes it feel fast in hand, but that twist weight, that's where things get tricky. Out of the box, the paddle felt borderline unplayable for me in anything outside of dinking. The feel was clean, muted, but connected. But the moment I caught anything off center, it twisted in my hand. It demanded more precision than I'd expect from a stock build. So I added the 3 grams of weight Selkirk includes in the box and placed it right above the neck. It helped. It gave me just enough added stability to get through transitions and hold my ground in fast exchanges. Once stabilized, the 008 starts to show real upside. It's quick, it's sharp, and it's reactive. Punch volleys clocked in at 39.2 miles per hour, landing in the 96th percentile. It's built for redirection. It reacts instantly in hands battles, but doesn't deliver big output on its own. Serve speed came in at 55.4 miles per hour, which puts it in the 53rd percentile. You're not getting free depth or power, you've got to generate it. The power profile is non-linear. When you flush it, you get more than you expect. The ball springs off the face. When you miss that clean contact, it's just okay. It reminds me of the bread and butter Invader in that way. More about timing than brute force. The spin came in at 2,188 RPM, which is solid, not elite, but definitely playable. It's a step behind paddles like the Carbon TruFoam Genesis, which have more surface bite and deeper dwell. The peel-applied texture on the 008 does its job, but you're not carving balls with ease. It's more functional than exceptional. The feel is firm neutral, softer than most raw carbon thermal builds and firmer than something like Carbon's TruFoam. There's no vibration, no harshness, just a clean, tight feedback loop that feels slightly muted but also trustworthy. Compared to the dyed and blue core, it's less dense and more responsive, somewhere between those two extremes. Resets and drops took a bit of dialing in, but once I got the rhythm, I could keep the ball low and place it with confidence. The main trade-off here is forgiveness. With a twist weight of 5.4, you don't get much help on mishits. The sweet spot is narrow. To make this paddle viable in serious play, you need to add weight, and maybe shift the balance point slightly higher. Once you do, the paddle opens up. Not dramatically, but enough to become a viable all-court option. Durability-wise, I'm optimistic. There's no honeycomb to crush, and Selkirk's thermoforming and edge sealing looks solid. The full foam structure should maintain, and it was on a 13mm model, not this one. Speaking of the 13mm 008s, I didn't like the way they played. I don't mean this comparison to sound disrespectful, even though some may take it that way, but the 13mm felt very stiff, unpleasantly stiff, almost like a wooden plank. It's hard to describe. It's like all of the components that make up the paddle weren't working in harmony or together in a way that felt good. Like the total wasn't greater than the sum of its parts. I know that opinion is also subjective. The 13mm feedback was harsh, and the overall feel just wasn't pleasant to me. Surprisingly, the 10mm plays nothing like the 13mm for all the reasons I mentioned. The bottom line is that the Project 008 10mm isn't plug and play. It's not for beginners, and it's not for anyone who wants built-in forgiveness. But if you're an advanced player who likes quick hands, crisp and excellent pop, and the ability to mod and tweak, it's worth exploring. It feels different, and that's the point. The retail price is $288. There are no discounts. This is Selkirk Labs, but if you use my code INF-MPB, it helps me out, supports this channel, and you'll get a gift card in return. If you've tried this paddle, especially with added weight, I want to hear how it's working for you. Next up is the paddle of the week, and that goes to the Carbon TruFoam Genesis 2. I've circled back to this one recently after some time away, and it's been interesting to revisit with a fresh feel for how it performs in different settings. I've used it in casual games, competitive sets, and drill sessions, and each time it's reinforced why this paddle stands out in such a crowded space. The Genesis 2 is the standard shape model in Carbon's TruFoam lineup and probably the most accessible of the three. But accessible doesn't mean basic. This paddle ditches the honeycomb core entirely. Instead, it's built around a solid high-density foam structure, engineered with internal voids to shape how the paddle flexes, where the energy goes, and how the mass distributes on contact. The Genesis 2 moves quickly in hand. At 114.55 swing weight, it's more maneuverable than its elongated or hybrid siblings. It comes in at 16 inches long and just under 8 inches wide, with a 5.5-inch handle that gives you versatility, whether you play with one hand or two. It's a paddle that feels fast without feeling unstable, and that matters when things speed up. The sweet spot has been one of the most consistent aspects of this paddle. It's broad, forgiving, and stable. I've had plenty of slightly off-center contacts that stayed on target, which isn't something you always get for a true all-court paddle. It gives you room to be human without costing you the point. Spin also holds up well here. Carbon's using a T700 carbon face with a coarse peel-ply texture, and the grip is real. Topspin drives, slices, it all comes off with shape and bite. And it doesn't feel artificial. The surface grabs the ball, and there's good dwell. Power is measured, but it's there when you want it. The Genesis 2 doesn't have the raw pop of some power paddles, but when you take a full swing, there's a subtle boost in the center of the face that helps push the ball through the court in a non-linear way. Once I got used to how it loads and releases, I could drive and counter confidently without overswinging. What surprised me more this time around is how solid the paddle feels from the baseline. The contact is muted, not loud, not harsh, but still present. No vibration. I could hit deep shots without feeling disconnected. Resets felt grounded and easy to control. Punch volleys had a satisfying firmness to them, especially considering this is a foam core paddle. At the kitchen, the Genesis 2 feels composed. Dinks and drops stay low, and the paddle gives you time to adjust without rushing your hands. There's a little pop when you flick or speed up, but not so much that it throws off your control. It doesn't try to do too much, which in a lot of cases is exactly what you want. And just to clarify, it's not ultra quiet like the Gearbox GX2, but it does play quieter than most builds with a honeycomb core, and the vibration is practically non-existent. That dampened feel has been a plus, especially during longer sessions. If you've had arm fatigue or deal with joint sensitivity, this type of core could be a game changer. If you're after explosive offense or featherweight speed, this probably isn't your paddle. But if you want something grounded, something that rewards control, resets cleanly, and helps shape your shots with confidence, the Genesis 2 is worth a serious look. It's priced at $279, but with my code MPB, you can bring that down a bit. Yes, it's a premium paddle with a premium price tag, but this is not a cookie-cutter catalog paddle. It's something different, and it plays like it. The bottom line, the Genesis 2 is the most approachable of the TruFoam lineup, in my assessment, but it's also the most versatile. If you've been curious about what foam core paddles can actually do when they're built from the ground up, this is the one I'd start with. All right, that's a wrap for episode 8 of Paddle of the Week. Everything I've shared this week comes from real-world testing, drills, games, and the kind of court time where performance actually matters. If you've used any of these paddles or you have any comments about them, drop them down below. I read all of them, and a lot of what ends up in the series comes directly from your suggestions. If you like this type of content or you've been following along from week to week, hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that too. It keeps the series going and makes sure you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.